Soar above with those who dare to look at the world from a new perspective and ask, what if? You're listening to the Altitude Podcast from Eagleview.
Hi, I'm Piers Dormeyer, CEO of Eagleview Technologies. On this show, we bring you stories of pioneers who are redefining the boundaries of their fields. Today, we're going to explore the driving force behind an organization that's daring to automate roofing. My guests are Andy Stulc and Dylan Crow, the co-founders of Renovate Robotics, a company building robotic systems to install shingles safely, efficiently, and at scale. We'll talk about their journey, their robot named Rufus, and what it takes to lead a hard tech startup through turbulent times. Andy and Dylan, welcome to the Altitude Podcast.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us.
We're super excited to be here, Piers.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys. I know we just met a few weeks ago and really intrigued with what you guys are doing. Not just that I'm a tech nerd, that's well known, but we're usually, when we're talking about technology, we generally more or less are talking about AI. Sometimes it's drones, it's some new software. Not that those things aren't cool, but there's not a lot of innovation up to this point around roofing and robotics. So I was just incredibly interested and intrigued. So just really grateful for you guys to come on board. But just jumping into the beginning, what inspired the two of you to tackle the roofing industry with robotics?
So my background is all in robotics. I started in the aerospace industry, building big machine tools that build commercial airplanes. And I come from a big construction family. And basically what happened was in 2019, I bought a house, 100-year-old house, and I had to replace the roof. And while I was going through that process, first, all the contractors were booked out for like 3 months. So I was kind of frustrated. And then when they did show up, I was watching this small army of people do this really dangerous, really repetitive work. And it just got me thinking, if we can bring some of that factory automation out to the construction site, we can do things safer, faster, cheaper. And it's good for homeowners. It's good for contractors. It's good for insurance companies. And so that's kind of what kickstarted the journey. I met Dylan pretty early on in that process. I'll let him share his background as well.
Yeah. So my background's mostly on the investment side. I did my university studies in China, actually, which is kind of when I first got exposed to the hardware robotics manufacturing world. And after graduation, I worked for a venture capital fund that invests all over the world, but predominantly in hardware technology. So spent a lot of time really around founders building robots, building manufacturing technology, building physical technology. And I was there for about 5 years. The firm was called SOSV. And in the last year there is when I met Andy. So I was like one of the first people to hear this vision that he had after he had gone through this like poor roof replacement process and got so excited about it that I actually just had the opportunity to be on the investment team that made the first investment into Renovate Robotics. And then like 6 months after that, I just got so excited about the direction that the company was heading, about Andy and his background and his kind of fit with the market as well, given that he's built complex robots and that he kind of comes from the construction family. It just felt like a great fit and also a team where I could add a lot of value. So I ended up leaving, and joining him to help him build the company.
Yeah, so I want to get back to you and some of your background in venture and how that plays a role in this venture. But so Renovate Robotics launches Rufus, which is the robot that installs these shingles, which I absolutely love the name. We talked about that. I knew a Rufus once as well. Different piece of technology, so that's super cool. But you talked about a pretty unique kind of set of circumstances, both recognizing some inefficiencies and frustrations in the roofing industry, but also having some of that hardware, technology, robotics, automation background to how to tackle this problem. But roofing's pretty unique, right? Can you talk about some of the more kind of unique engineering challenges you guys had to overcome or still overcoming?
Yeah, definitely. There's challenges all across the board. Compared to like a normal mobile robot, one of the first challenges is that this needs to get 20 feet in the air, needs to operate on a sloped surface, and needs to do that safely. And so just that on its own is a challenging problem. And then when you add into that asphalt shingles are the most popular roofing material, but they're flimsy. They're pretty heavy when you add up 20 of them. They've got this rough surface on them. And so all of that makes it hard to grip and manipulate that. And so there's a gripping problem that you have to add on to that height and sloped problem. And then there's this accuracy problem where you want things to be spaced appropriately so that the roof is watertight. You want everything to be aligned correctly so that when you look up at the roof, it looks like a quality product is installed. And so you need a pretty precise robot on top of all that as well. And so all of it combines to things that are definitely doable, but it's a challenging engineering product to build.
For sure.
Yeah, which creates a heck of an opportunity, right? You want those types of problems. It creates a major moat once you actually can solve them. So Dylan, going back to the VC business and ultimately coming from your career in China and now here to the roofing industry, what would you say that some insights that you took from that part of your career? What kind of perspectives do you bring into actually operating one of these businesses?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that really jumped out to me when I looked at the business, maybe going back to my job and what I mostly did day to day, like a lot of my responsibilities at the fund that I was at for the 5 years that I was there was really just doing a first evaluation of an investment opportunity. And we saw thousands of these a year. So over my career there, I was seeing tens of thousands of investment opportunities. But I think one of the things that struck me the most after having spent so much time in that industry was when I met Andy, I realized, wow, I actually haven't met anyone that's tried to do anything in roofing. And I think when you start to look at the industry, I'm evaluating this for the first time, like, hey, somebody wants to bring a robot to the industry. I'm immediately digging in and thinking about, well, how does the industry work today? And when you look at the way roofing works today, you realize we've been putting on shingles on roofs for like 100 years. The 100th anniversary of the asphalt shingle was a little over 100 years ago. The industry hasn't really changed much from a installation perspective. And I think when you look at the people that are doing that installation work as well, like it's a really hard job. And I think everyone knows this. It's one of the things that makes it so challenging. Like when we talk to roofing contractors, one of the things that they consistently tell us is that it's super hard to like find and evaluate and to keep good subs around. And when you talk to the subs, the reason for that is that it's actually just really hard to install a roof. So I think a lot of that ethnographic background and a lot of that experience from speaking with customers, speaking with people trying to build companies and doing that at such a quick pace. When I bumped into the roofing industry really quickly, I was just immediately fascinated with, wow, wait, this is an industry that hasn't changed in a really long time. It's really hard to do. It's been around and it's super necessary. It's not going anywhere. I think everybody in the industry knows this. And it's one of the reasons why it's so attractive from a business perspective is everybody needs a roof. Just from my experience spending so much time evaluating these opportunities, that's the thing that hit me on the head really quickly. It's one of the reasons why this was basically the fastest investment we made when I was at SOSV. It took a week from when I met Andy to when we sent the term sheet for that first investment. And then I think even going back to your previous question, you're asking what makes installing a roof with a robot different from using a robot to do something else. It's a really non-trivial problem. Like you said, it's complicated. There's going to be a moat there when you build it. And I think looking at Andy and his background and thinking, this is someone who's built complex robots that do complex things that not a lot of other people have done before. So yeah, those are all the things that hit me on the top of my head. The siren going off like, wait, there's something here that's super interesting.
Yeah, all of that is really 100% true. Some of the things that we even talked about before when we met was you're addressing, I would say, one of the biggest problems in the industry is just labor and labor shortages. And safety is another one, right? And quality and consistency. And all of those things tend to work like a vicious cycle. If you don't have enough labor, you suffer in quality. And then things like safety kind of go to the back burner because you just got to do what you got to do in order to keep your business running. And it's kind of like Eagleview over a decade ago when I got involved. I thought it was really interesting because it enables you to do more with less. It's a technology time saver. And then it speaks to some of that safety concerns. And you guys do the same thing. You just do it a different way. And I think that's just going to be a winning combination. But one thing that occurred to me, I get a ton of questions across both our industry as well as tech and finance about how this economy and volatility is going to affect this industry and our company. Just curious how you're approaching, and I would say not just the current economic climate, because we all know that tech's been in, especially on the VC side, trying to raise money, trying to start a business really over the last 24 maybe as much as 36 months has been pretty challenging. So how are you guys kind of leading through all of that volatility?
There's definitely a lot of balls to juggle. And especially as a hardware company, you're not only developing technology, you also have to develop a supply chain, the manufacturing that goes along with it, and manage doing all that on a low amount of cash. And so, really, what we've done is narrow in on the exact problems that we want to solve right away and focus our efforts there. And so we're installing basically full shingles initially on pretty big, pretty simple roofs and demonstrating that we can do that at high quality and high productivity. That's our first milestone. But even all the tariffs and the turmoil in the last few months, that adds an extra level of complexity to it. We've used a lot of overseas manufacturing for machine parts and just manufacturing capability to control our costs. But we're starting to look at how can we do some of that more domestically, spots where, we can pull things back in, simplify our product so that we just have less parts. There's no easy answer, but a lot of it is just being critical with yourself every day and thinking of how can you do this better? How can you do it simpler?
Yeah. I was just going to add, one of the other things we've been able to do, we're a small team, right? We're a small startup, but one of the things we've been able to do is to lean on partners as well. So to be able to leverage resources of existing organizations in the industry, we signed a couple of partnerships to date, one with Certainteed and Saint-Gobain, and they've been a huge help in helping us kind of punch above our weight in terms of how we can navigate the industry, how we can leverage their resources to move even faster with the limited resources that we have. And then Beacon as well, now QXO, but we've also recently signed a partnership with them, which again, just allows us to do more, even as a small team.
We've reached a new cruising altitude here at this point in the discussion, and I'd like to take a moment to tell you, our listeners, about a very exciting new capability we recently launched at Eagleview. Eagleview One is our new premium digital user experience. It offers a unified access point to the full power of Eagleview's unrivaled 3D visualizations, imagery, and analytics, and puts powerful AI, precise 3D models, and all the tools and data that Eagleview offers, all in one easy-to-use, modern platform to help make your projects smoother, faster, and more efficient. Built to scale into the future with your business needs in mind, Eagleview One will be continually updated to bring you new technologies and to further enhance the ability to integrate Eagleview's extensive and powerful asset intelligence into your existing workflows. To learn more about the transformational experience Eagleview One offers, visit eagleviewone.com. That's eagleviewone.com. That's outstanding. And I think that's a great segue to talk a little bit about the business model. How does this work? I got to learn this word robotics as a service, but you guys are operating around a subcontracting model. So talk to me about how your business model is evolving.
Right now, we're going to market as a subcontractor. And so we're partnering with roofing contractors in the Northeast, and we're installing jobs for them. And so it works pretty simply. We get paid the same amount that they paid their sub labor, and we'll take on that full responsibility of installing a job. We're using this to show basically the productivity that we can hit and the economics that we can hit as a sub. And then the goal is that in the next 12 to 18 months, we can start to transition some of these first customers over to a leasing model where they actually lease a robot from us, operate it themselves, and then we share some of those economics with them so they get higher upside as well as more productivity out of their crew.
Can you share what you're seeing or projecting in terms of ROI and upside for the contractor?
We're still working through the exact split there, but at a high level, what we're doing is doubling productivity of the crew. And so right now, if you use a crew of 6 people to install a house in one day, what we're aimed at is that you can use 3 people and a robot to install that roof. And so you're effectively cutting that labor cost in half. And then we're still working out exactly what that leasing price will be on a per square foot basis. Yeah, we'll get there pretty quick.
But I mean, you're talking about some massive benefits, not just in just the fact that you're going to save a bunch of money because you're going to have less humans on a roof, but you're also hopefully going to not have to go and look for those humans on the roof too. So that's going to hopefully keep you moving a little faster, make you more nimble.
Taking that and following it even further, it's also ensuring, getting insurance for those humans that show up on the job site as well. And it's also tracking the quality that those roofers are installing at. And I think this is also just the first milestone that we're aimed at in the next year or so. And I think long-term, we also see huge opportunities to do even more beyond that too.
The thing I was going to add is that in addition to basically working twice as productively, what we can do with contractors is they can effectively double their top line revenue because the crews that they have today, they can split into twice as many crews, get twice as many projects done. And so there's better margins and higher volumes is what we're aiming to offer contractors.
Yeah. So talking about crews, talk to me a little bit about those dynamics. You guys have done a few roofs. I want to talk about that too. I got all kinds of questions, but just that, have you guys had any interesting dynamics with workers, with roofers and Rufus? Do you have anybody who's thinking that it's going to take its job and kicking a robot off a roof or anything like that? Anything that's sensational?
Nothing sensational. The projects that we've done so far, we've worked alongside existing crews. And so we usually field quite a few questions. We get quite a few people stopping and watching the robot work. But in general, when we talk to roofers, they're excited about it. They know how physically demanding the job is. Even just carrying a bundle of shingles up and down a ladder across a roof, that's hard to do day in and day out. Yeah. And so these guys, I think they're excited to see people building for them. We get our fair share of hits as well. The YouTube comments when we release a video sometimes get a little one-sided. But I think people see where it's at today. And then I think there's the next set is to see where it's going in the future. And sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect there. But we're trying to be out here telling the story and bring people along for the ride with us and build for the whole industry.
I imagine the comments are just going to get, especially as you get more volume, they're going to get more and more interesting, I am sure.
I'm curious, did you guys run into any comments like that as Eagleview was scaling?
Oh, the conspiracy theories were crazy back in the day. I don't want to even go into it right now, but like from government spy programs to all of this. And even as we launched our drone inspection product, which is really to be used either by roofers or insurance companies in the claims process. But the fact that the homeowner has to authorize the whole visit, right? So it's clearly we're not spying on you to spy on you. You're not giving us authorization to spy on you. So put your shotguns away. That's kind of calmed down because drones have gotten so big lately, but you're going to get them. You're going to get them. So just on more on the nerd front, as you're completing these roofing projects, you're collecting a ton of data. So talk to me about the data and how you're using that for non-nefarious spy-like purposes. How do you see that ultimately becoming kind of useful?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the first place to start is that we're picking up right where Eagleview leaves off. So we ingest all those roof dimensions that come out of an Eagleview report, and that feeds right into the robot. And so from those dimensions, we automatically lay out where the shingles go on the roof. And then that generates a plan for how the robot drives to each spot to place that shingle. What we're doing as we place the shingles is we use a machine vision system that guarantees that each shingle is aligned correctly and spaced correctly to the shingle next to it. And then we capture all that data so that we can show exactly how the roof was installed, where every nail went, that it was driven to the correct depth. And the goal is that we can package that up, feed it to insurance companies and warranty holders, and actually get better warranties and potentially higher prices for the roofs that we're installing.
And I could totally see why Certainty would be really interested in that, right? That would be really great to have that kind of actual on-site quality assurance as the roof is going on. So it's pretty spectacular. Starting to wrap up a little bit, where do you guys see the future? What's the roadmap look like?
In the near future, we're all focused on shingled roofs, and we really want to expand this subcontracting model over the next 18 months, get to that leasing point. And then from there, we want to start adding functionality. We want to move into solar installation. We want to move into shingle tear off, and then potentially other products as well on sloped roofs. And then we also want to start to work on commercial roofing, expand so that we're doing flat roofs as well. And we've got ideas on all of these. As Dylan mentioned, we're a small team. And so we got to stay pretty laser focused in the short term. But the goal is that people take us seriously as technology builders and as partners for the industry. And then we can start to take on a whole swath of the market.
Outstanding. Well, it is incredibly exciting. I'd love to give you guys the last word. Where can people who are interested find out more information, sign up to get involved? Where do they go?
Yeah. So the best place to follow what we're up to is just on our website. That's www.renovaterobotics.com. That'll have the most up-to-date information, links to find out more about us, about what we're building, and ways to stay up to date as well.
Well, fantastic. Well, again, thanks so much for joining the show. me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. This was great.
Thanks, Piers.
That's all for this episode of the Altitude Podcast from Eagleview. Again, I want to extend a huge thank you to Dylan Crow and Andy Stulc for sharing so much about Renovate, Rufus, their leadership, and their shared vision for the future of roofing. And thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, give us a follow, and tell your friends to listen. I'm Piers Dormeyer. See you next time on the Altitude Podcast.